So, yeah, we're moving into this month of virtue or ethical conduct, morality, sila, as you know, in Pali, S-I-L-A, the whole world of sila. And in particular, although there are various ways that this is cast in various traditions, and some are longer and shorter, the 5 precepts are still the core elements. And as we mentioned last week, and we're going to go through those and for today, and killing, no killing. It's number one. It's the number one precept, which really it basically comes from an understanding of the radical interconnectedness of all of us with all of life, and a deep respect that comes with that, or should come with that, and the discernment that should come along with the respect for that, in terms of our action, not just our cognitive thinking about it, but in our action and how we live our lives. And so much of the killing, I mean, there are some obvious pieces, we don't kill other humans. Yeah, we know this. Some of it goes without saying, but so much of the rest of it does rely on a certain element of discernment, respect, and discernment for each of us. And there are no absolute guidelines for some of these to go along with some of these precepts. It's really encouraged to pay attention to the intention behind that any level of aggression, in particular with killing. With animals, there are a number of perspectives on animals. There's a number of perspectives on vegetarianism, and the why that goes along, and the discernment that may go along with that. And what does it mean? We've come so far. This is part of what comes with modern society, is that we have disconnected. We're so disconnected from animals that are killed so that we can have the burger, that we don't have to kill ourselves, right? And that there used to be a closer alliance between what was killed and its usefulness. There was even a respect in the killing. We know some of these traditions with animals, etc. And we've lost touch with that. It's one of the ways that we've become disconnected in modern culture. I was reading recently there's a Buddhist community that's developing a Buddhist kind of a Sangha community that's on agricultural land. And I was interested to see, they talk about the precepts that you agree to if you're going to come onto the land, be part of it. And one of them, I was struck by this, not be allowed to raise farm animals, which in time will be killed by others. Yeah, etc. Well, okay, there's a frame. How do we relate to that one? I know we had a student. I used to go fishing with my dad. I can't do it anymore. Even catch and release fishing. My dad, I think he was a little naive and maybe, rationalizing, but he said, fish don't really feel that much. Let me tell you, what's going on at the end of the line when you catch a fish is trauma, is fear. Yeah, it's fear, and I believe it's pain. It doesn't matter that I might catch it and throw it back. I'm still inflicting trauma on another being. That's my decision. That's a discernment. You see, that's just a discernment that I've made. We worked with a student one time. He's in his 40s, and he told us a story. He grew up on a farm. And when he was a little boy, he got really attached to a turkey that lived on the farm. And the turkey's name was Fred. Yeah. And so one day, I don't know, remember if it was Thanksgiving or not. I can't remember. I think it might have been. But he said, you know, he came to dinner and he said, you know, I haven't been able to find Fred today. And his father said, well, you know, he's on the table. He was 6 years old. He said, I never had another bite of meat again in my life from that day until this day. The closer we get to this, you know, it brings up another level of discernment, But again, are there hard and fast rules? Maybe we need meat. Do we need meat, or is that just an old habit? And we don't even think about it anymore, et cetera, et cetera. All of this is just food for discernment. I don't want to get into the whole right, wrong thing here, you know, good, bad thing. Right? So a lot of discernment there. You know, one of the places, it's not really talked about in the precepts, but you know, I think we all understand this, is that killing ourselves is not a good idea either. Yeah. And I don't mean, obviously, you know, there are dramatic forms of that, but there's a lot of slow killing that goes on in our habits, right? And maybe not in yours, but you know, there's a slow killing that goes with really poor dietary and exercise habits. A lot of the data is in, and a lot of the data, a lot of people tend to ignore. One of the great old expressions that really there's tremendous wisdom in it is one of the ones that we ignore, which is that we are what we eat. We are what we eat, which is also why the United States has the highest per capita rate of heart disease and diabetes of any, and type 2 diabetes of any country in the world. We are what we eat, you know? And so there's that sense of not really respecting all of the ways that we don't respect this life in some of our habits, you know? Some of our ingrained habits, you know, the turning away from our life in certain ways. It's how I see it. It's not something that's talked a lot. Mostly it's about out here. How do we relate to life out here? But we don't want to address this issue without talking about how in small ways, in the 1,000 smaller ways, that we may be contributing to our own demise, you know, in that respect. One of the ones that we all are confronted with at various times is the insect world. And there's discernment there too. This has been talked about. You can read about it in various articles and Buddhist articles. And of course, when there are great infestations, you know, sometimes we have to do the needful, you know. Hopefully with a prayer, you know, we always, when something happens, we're always like, we're just aware that all beings want life as much as we do. It's not complicated that way, right? It's not complicated that way. And with insects, you know, for example, we've had a couple of wheat moth infestations. It's unbelievable. Well, but one of the things that contributes to infestations is not doing preventative things, you know? So now we learned very quickly, no, sorry, everything that's got any wheat in it, yeah, and all products just have to be in Ziploc bags, you know, without exception. There are no more wheat moth infestations in our home any longer, you know? So we need to back it up too and see if there's something that can be done before we have to do something a little bit more dramatic, yeah, when it comes to insects, if possible. And you know, there are these kind, humane traps out there now, you know, mice traps and so forth, rodent traps. Okay, you know, we do our best with all those. We do all best. One of our favorites It's called, and it's called the snappy bug catcher. Some of you may know about this. Full disclosure, we own no stock in the snappy bug catcher company. Oh, but we think it's the coolest thing ever because we've all learned maybe how to do that with a little cup and a piece of cardboard and all that. But that gets kind of dicey, especially if you're dealing with something like a wasp, right? Yeah. So the snappy bug catcher is this cool little device. We were so happy to discover this. It's got a handle and a little thing, and it's like got a square that's a couple inches in every direction, and the face of it slides open so that there's plenty of room, and you're far enough away from it because it's got a handle to press up against any surface, and then you just close the little window, and the bug is trapped in a little box there, and you can just go outside, unclose the window, and flip it away. Now we have one in a couple places in our home, and we got them for all the cabins at the Barry Center for Buddhist Studies. We were out there. We think every good Buddhist should have one, and we give them for people who have everything, right? Like little gifts, because it just makes sense. It just makes sense, it just makes sense. So we've given them a lot to folks, and we encourage you to check those out if you don't have one. And it helps, if we don't have to kill an insect, here's one way, it'll catch little ones and bigger ones. Yeah. So we do want you to know about the snappy bug catcher. Yeah. And in Buddhism, throughout, there's even, I found a sutta last week. It was a sutta about really being discerning, even about plants and seeds and trees. Don't destroy seeds that could be planted. Be respectful to all life, In fact, in Southeast Asia, it's considered a violation of a precept with bad karmic consequences if you cut down a tree. We're all aboard with that one. Let's find another way. So, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to just bringing more discernment. Isn't all of the practice, so much of this practice, especially in daily life, is about bringing just another level of nuance of discernment to what we do and to what we don't do, and to why we're doing what we're doing. Are we doing it with care, with discernment, with respect? I know, whatever we do, whether it be plant, and mostly it's plant for us, like 99%. But we'll always gratitude for the nourishment, for something out there has given its life. Plants have given their lives. All of that, all of what's come to us, just moving through the world more with that kind of gratitude and respect and discernment. And that's really the heart of the matter when it comes to killing. It's bringing nuance and sensitivity and heightened awareness to our choices, and it's no longer imagining that our choices don't have impact. That's one of the most important core principles of Buddhism. There's impact everywhere, and we can't entirely get away from killing. But how do we move through the world with a kind of grace and respect, and doing the best we can in that area and with that sensibility? Yeah. So it's just for your reflection there, a few reflections on our sense of what's important about that precept, and how we we try to keep it alive in our awareness throughout. Yeah. So, thank you.